Minnesota fans, how we feeling? Now, I tried to warn you guys at the beginning of the series, but I kept on hearing, Julius Randle was going to wash his matchup. He was going to be too physical for Chet. He was going to be too aggressive and just too strong, and he was going to overwhelm him. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, this series feels like Chet has been the X factor because he's been hitting shots, he's been aggressive, he's been winning his matchup, he's been playing excellent defense, and he's just been what OKC has needed from him this entire time. And dare I say, he's playing the best basketball of his career in this series. I saw him today drive right on Naz Reid, bump him with his shoulder. Naz Reid falls to the ground, pull back, change direction, go downhill, and punch that thing through the lane, and just ultra aggressive swag about him, looking at dudes crazy like I'm him. You know what I'm saying? And, I think there's this perception that he's just this tall, scrawny white guy. And that's coming to bite dudes in the butt. You know what I'm saying? Because he's coming to play, he's coming to compete, and he's putting it on dudes, right? Hitting shots, hitting threes, knocking them down in dudes' grills, throwing stuff into the second row. You know what I'm saying? That boy's a bad boy, and he needs his respect. So I'm saying all this to say, tried to warn you guys, Chet is that dude, and he's playing like that dude. And also, one thing that we have to realize is that when Minnesota cannot dictate the intensity and physicality of the game, or more so, they cannot be the more physical and an athletic team, they drop off quite a bit. Now, this isn't to say that they played bad basketball or anything like that. Today was a very competitive game. But when they are at their best, when they are, let's say, a top three team in the NBA, it is because the matchup that they are playing against allows for them to be ultra physical, and their athleticism and physical attributes shine through. When it is not that for them, they probably drop to just like a normal playoff team for me. If I'm being 100% honest with you, there's a big drop there for me from the team that I've watched over the past two seasons, from seeing them at their best versus seeing them at their worst. And that's what I see as a commonality. They are great when they dictate physicality and athleticism. If it is on a level playing field, it drops very quickly. And that is why OKC is having so much success as well, because they are just as athletic, just as physical, and they match up super well with him. But on the other end, they have a guy in Shai who can control the game on the offensive end of the floor, right? He can score when they need him to score. He controls the pace. He can get shots. He can be consistent in the offensive end. The difference between him and Anthony Edwards, and what has shined through for me most in the series, is that Anthony Edwards just isn't quite yet a top five player. Again, he's 23 years old. He will be very soon, but there's just some steps he needs to take on the offensive end of his game that Shai has taken, right? Shai's game is polished. He can get a shot when they need him to get a shot. He can make a shot consistently at a high clip when they need him to. Because Anthony Edwards' game, I think, has shifted so much, especially in this season, to shooting that three ball. He hits it at a high rate. He can shoot the ball. But again, we see it with other guys like James Harden, right? Where when you play this very analytical style of basketball, it's very easy, at least to an extent, right? These are in context. He's a amazing player. It's not easy, but it's much easier to get taken out of the game when you're just shooting threes or just getting to the rim, and in large part settling for threes. It just takes away options for you. Now, he has a mid-range bag, but I think he's pulled away from that and tried to play this more three-pointer to the rim style of play. And hopefully, over the next couple of seasons, he develops more of his mid-range game where he is a true and consistent, let's not say true, but consistent three-level scorer who can get to his shots at any point in time, right? Because when you're playing this analytical game, and you're only shooting from two spots of the floor, it makes you more predictable. It makes you easier to guard when defenses get tight in the playoffs. It just becomes harder for you, and then in turn, because it's harder for you, it's obviously going to be harder on your teammates. And that's just one thing I noticed about Ant, where I think he needs growth. Again, it's not about him not shooting threes or shooting less threes. It's just about him being more aggressive in other spots as well, and being more consistent in other spots to open up the game for everybody else. So I say all this to say, I like Minnesota. They're a fun team to watch. I think they just have some pretty big flaws, at least to me in my perspective from what I've watched. And if they can't play a particular style of play, then it really limits them and their overall potential. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'll say about that. But y'all let me know how you're feeling about the series. It's been some great basketball, and I'm excited to see how it winds up and how the finals ultimately end up as well. Peace.